operation. You heard the whole Muslim world cry out, and this is part of the radical Islamic influence, not only in the Middle East, but throughout the Arab world. At the same time, you know, it's a very difficult decision. What do? Do we restrain ourselves, do nothing now, and then have to fight a bigger war? Or do we take the necessary action required in order to protect our citizens right now? And I think the Israeli government really had no choice. We didn't choose it. Hamas dictated the event. Hamas, and I think with the instigation of Iran. I mean, the Palestinian National Liberation Movement, which prides itself of having liberated Gaza, you know, is no longer a Palestinian independent movement, but it's taken hostage by the Iranians.
We're in a community here. It's a residential neighborhood, and I asked Colonel Geeson this on the way in. These people are living under very difficult circumstances. I mean, literally, folks, if you see right behind me, you see the smoke billowing out from about 4 different locations right now. Very, very significant. Obviously, those airstrikes were significant. Here you are during the day, now coming into evening. What is the morale and the psychological impact of all of this on the citizens right here of Israel?
When Sderot was first built, it was built as a city of hope. Hope for young couples, hope for immigrants. Today, unfortunately, I would say at least in the past 5 years, it turned into a city of fear. And you know, fear is what terrorism is all about. And if you look, the distance between Gaza and Sderot is 1 mile. The real distance between the people of Sderot and those who run Gaza is light years.
Right.
There you have people who really want peace, and they cling to this land, and they stay here, and they're asking the government, give us some protection so that we can live at least with some peace of mind. On the other side, you have people who want to tear Israel to pieces.
You saw what happened would be a rocket would launch out of Gaza towards the towns we were at, Ashkelon or Sderot, and then you'd immediately see within seconds an Israeli, usually a helicopter, fire a Hellcat missile, the Hellcat missiles, and you'd see the explosion, you'd see the smoke, then you would hear it. That's how fast it was moving. And then the rockets would go over your head.
There's also been missiles launched, rockets launched, I should say, from Gaza into this area in here. In fact, one hit here today. So this is an active military site right now, a conflict zone. There is, amazingly, you saw kids out in the field playing, but when a missile or a rocket comes in, you have 14 seconds, basically, to get from where you are, right where we are, to where we've been told to go to avoid the rocket causing even more damage.
And then we went to, the first place we went to was Ashkelon.
My dad and another guy, they had gone in to meet with the President of Israel. But just like in the United States, you have to, not everyone gets to run into these rooms. They're very, you know, this is a highly secure, even during the situation. They can't let everyone in. We understand that. So they say, actually, just stay right here. This is going to be, a few minutes.
I remember in the room, there was, probably 50, well, more than that. It was packed full of reporters and cameras. And he was just making a general statement. And then all of a sudden, you hear the press agent, his press agent. They knew, I had met him coming in. We talked. I had been with him 2 or 3 times in the past year. So he knew me. And we were walking down, and all of a sudden, you hear, and of course they do this with this Hebrew accent, you hear them say basically, be quiet in Hebrew. And then she says something in Hebrew which says, Mr. President, Jay Sokolov is here. That's how they say it they don't pronounce it secular, it's always Sokolov.
תודה רבה, Jay Sokolov.
Mr. President, this is Jay Sekulow with the American Center for Law and Justice. What's the message you want to convey to the thousands of Americans, American Christians supporting Israel right now?
First of all, to the Christian community, Merry Christmas.
He went off on this whole Christmas message, because this was right after Christmas, and yeah, I think it was it's really moving.
It's a peace, it's a celebration of light and happiness, and wish all people, no matter to which religion they belong, that they and their children and our children will be able to celebrate in an air of peacefulness and understanding. We don't have any purposes. We were attacked, and we want to stop the attack. Nobody can explain why were we attacked, what are the reasons. Nobody can explain what do they want. But one thing we can explain, we cannot take it. Imagine any city in the world being fired all of a sudden, day in, day out, with missiles, with rockets. So every government would do it, and we are doing it too. We didn't look for it. We are not trigger happy, but we are decided. And I think we are lucky to have an excellent army. Excellent army not because they know how to shoot, but also how they know how to analyze the situation and do it carefully. We don't think there is a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. We opened the passages for supply, and we have just one purpose, to stop terror.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's the President of Israel, 84 years old, surrounded by children, and he's talking right to the world through us, which was pretty amazing to see.
So we actually stayed in the van, and one of our security guys, he just kind of turned around and said, listen, a siren's going to go off while we're here. They've been going off all day. When this happens, you have 15 seconds, we'll go to that building. It's about 500 yards away. It's not that close. And when that first, I'm literally 2 minutes after he said that to us, you hear the siren.
Jordan and our other team were still in their van, so they didn't have 14 seconds.
And one of the guys just bolted out of the van. I was actually in the back seat with another guy. We had to like jump over the side. And the last thing I remember was one of the, because at that point they had opened up the building that they didn't want us in because of the security reason. They'd opened it up. And the last thing I remember was one of the IDF soldiers kind of pushing my back. Because I remember it was wet outside, so it was kind of a slippery surface. Because I almost had slipped, like just a little bit, and because he had pushed me in, and literally like 2 seconds later.
So we were in the command center, and what happened was the mayor was there, and the deputy mayor, and the head of operations, and the strategic command operations unit, and they said, why don't you film your television broadcast right here at the Strategic Command Center? We'll open everything up to you. And we literally were in the Strategic Command Center as rockets were falling on Ashkelon.
After that, we'd all gotten back together again. At that point, we were all separate. We'd been in the same buildings, we hadn't seen each other yet. The third time that hit, one hit near us, we were in that Strategic Command Center. That's the broadcast that we show.
What am I doing? Okay. Right now you hear overhead the siren that's going on right now, indicating that a rocket has been launched from Gaza and at least going towards this area. Now that siren gives the individual citizens here about 14 or 15 seconds to get into a shelter. We're in one right now with the Strategic Command Center, but that's what you're hearing. That noise outside that you're hearing is in fact the siren.
And then you see me in the background. And when I point up after the siren, that's when the rocket hit.
I remember I just started filming, and this siren went off. And I think I was in the middle of a sentence where I said, as you hear above me, the rock, and I stopped for a second realizing, wait a minute, that siren went off and that rocket's aiming this way. And we're not in a bomb shelter, we're in this building, but if the bomb went through it and hit, you'd be killed by the shrapnel. So I don't remember if I paused or it was, I mean, our energy level and our adrenaline was very high at that point. One had already fallen. So we were seeing this kind of multiple barrages, and then they showed me this map that had all of these marks where the rockets had hit. So what's happened? I know we had some sirens going off just a few moments ago. We were with President Shimon Peres, took us into a bunker. What's happened?
Well, we had a Grad missile fall in one of the major intersections, and there's a map of it right here.
Is this a residential?
Can't show this on
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Is this a residential?
It's a residential, it's the beginning of the residential neighborhood as you come in from the north.
How did you track to know it was there?
Well, first of all, the Army, the police, the medical services, and the fire department are out 24 hours a day. And that's their job, is when a rocket falls, that they're on the site. They're the first ones on the site.
And you realize that you were literally under attack. I mean, you were literally under attack, and we're doing a television broadcast. But it was amazing to see, and you see this in the broadcast when you're talking to the mayor and the deputy mayor and the head of the Strategic Command. They're very calm through this whole process. So we regroup with everybody. We're actually in the Situation Room here in Ashkelon. A few minutes ago, there was a rocket that was launched from Gaza that landed not far from here. In fact, I'm looking at how far. What are we talking about as far as distance?
Talking about distance, so it's only about 5 kilometers from here.
Yeah, so about two miles or so. We're very, very close. We're in the Strategic Command Center where the strategic planning's done. I was asking the Vice Mayor this question. You had multiple rockets come in here over the last few days, the last months especially, but even the last few days. When you've got a multiple rocket launch situation where there are hits, where there are lands and areas where people are located, what's the priority? How do you determine